Hi, I'm Amy Mahali with Be Well Clinic, and today we are in the kitchen because today we're going to talk about what foods are best to eat in the winter. Now, we're going to talk about winter foods because of the season of winter, but anytime your body is craving a food or there's something available or sounds really good to you, it is okay to eat that. This is just a general rule. This rule has to do with seasonal eating. And that doesn't just mean the season of winter or what's available in the stores, but also the season of the heat outside. It's cold in the winter, and our bodies need different foods than when we are eating in the summer. We do talk about this in our seasonal support for your body videos, so if you haven't seen that series, go check it out. And let's talk in detail today about warming and cooling foods. This is a Chinese medicine concept for people who might recognize it, but in general, if we think about what's going on in our physical body, when we eat food, it has to get warmed up to be body temperature. If we don't eat warm enough food, we actually can get cramps. And some people actually get cramps from drinking ice water or eating too much cold food too quickly because that stomach is reacting. That's not a problem in the summer when we're relaxed. We don't have to work as hard to keep our bodies warm. We're often cooling off. And so cooling or raw foods is actually better to eat in the summer. In the winter, we need to eat warming foods because we are overall trying to keep warm. And warming foods help with that, and they reduce the workload on our stomach and our spleen, which is the organ mostly responsible for coordinating digestion and warming our foods. Let's talk about what cooling foods and warming foods are. This refers to the temperature of the food as well as whether it's cooked or not. And then there's some special categories of spices, which is why all these are here. First, let's talk about cooling foods. In general, cooling foods are raw, but there are also cooked foods that can be cooling as well. If this is something you think is really important for your body because you're cold often or you have a lot of stress with digestion, I would recommend looking up Chinese medicine food temperatures where things are cooling, neutral, warm, or hot, and figuring out what is the best food for you to be eating based on what your body's telling you. If you are not needing to be that specific or you're wanting to experiment yourself, in general, raw foods are cooling and temperature of foods is also cooling if it's cold. Water is also part of this. Ice water is in general not a good idea. There are a few occasions where it's fine to do, but make sure you're not stressing your body by shocking it from going too hot to really cold all of a sudden. And it's really not a good idea in the winter to drink cold water. At least room temperature is best, and often warm water is helpful for us to stay warm. Now let's talk about warming foods. Warming foods are, of course, foods that are warm. So a pot of soup that's on your stove, eating cooked meat, cooked vegetables, especially when they are still physically warm, is really helpful to our bodies. We can a little bit get away and cheat by drinking warm water even when you're eating cold foods, either raw foods or cooled foods. This is why a lot of countries, especially in Asia, will drink either hot tea or hot water with their meals. This is very soothing to the digestive system and is something that can be really good for you. Other things, if you don't like plain water or don't like tea, is you can do ginger, which is warming and wonderful for the digestive system. You can make some homemade tea by grating and steeping your ginger in some boiling water and then using that to drink either fresh or rewarming it after you store it in your fridge. This is so good for aiding your digestive system. The other thing we want to talk about with warming foods is looking at herbs. Herbs can help us warm foods. There's a few families of this. Of course, there's the hot peppers. So we've got cayenne, chili, crushed red pepper, peppercorns, your hot sauces. All of this can be really helpful to warm a food. Not everyone's favorite palate choice. Some people who need warming foods don't like spicy. So what do? There's other options. Paprika is a pepper, but is not spicy. Hungarian paprika is by far my favorite. If you've not tried it, definitely do it. Cumin is another thing that is hot. It's a warming herb, but it is not a spice that is very spicy. Of course, it has some, but it's not as hot as a hot sauce or a pepper. And then you have your Asian family of herbs, so your masalas, your curry powder. Often cumin is in this family as well. These ones are going to be really helpful, and you can get curry, for example, that's not very hot. But it's still going to be warming to you. And then garlic and ginger, which we've mentioned a little bit, are both warming herbs as well. So when you are eating this winter, make sure that you're eating some warming foods, as much as you can and as much as you need, unless you're feeling overheated. Also, in your soups and your stews, don't just have them physically warm, and having good warming food like meat and root vegetables are very warming, but also put some spice in there. Again, you don't have to have hot pepper spice. It doesn't all have to taste like chili. You can do curry dishes, you can do cumin dishes. There's so many warming herbs that give you a beautiful palate, and your body will feel better with those foods. I hope this is helpful. I hope you enjoyed learning about this, and come back next time for more tips on how to care for your body. See you next time.